Hey guys, it's Izzy here, and today I'm going to be doing the A to Z hot or not book tag. I love to give my opinion on things. Usually it's not being asked for, so when the offer is there, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna give my opinion, especially when it's about books. Question or prompt number one is audiobooks. This is a fun one. When I do an audiobook, I am usually following along in the physical copy of the book. I'm very rarely, I don't think I've ever done just listening to an audiobook. I don't think I could do that. I'm a very visual person, so I like to see what's happening, what's going on. Yes, audiobooks are hot. I do like them. And if it's getting to a point where I'm far into a book where I do have an understanding of what's going on, I can work on a puzzle or something like that. So yes, they're hot. E. Bildungsroman, dealing with a person's formative years or spiritual education. I like this when it's in fiction, yeah. I like books that are at the point of view of children. I don't necessarily like the school trope, like the magic school, because everybody wants to be Harry Potter at Hogwarts. There are some books where that I have liked that, the Poppy Wars being one, but I didn't like The Name of the Wind that much. When it's dealing with a person's formative years, that's hot. Or it said spiritual education. I don't really know much about spiritual education, so we're gonna say that's a not. C, children's books. I do like a nice children's book. I don't really read them, but I love artwork. I love just so much work has to go into a children's book, because with a normal like adult book, you're not going to have illustrations, you're just going to have words. But with a children's book, I feel like so much goes into it by adding the illustrations, and then usually there has to be a moral of the story that is kind of obvious, when a lot of times with adult books it's like interpret it as you will. So I think a lot goes into a children's book, so yes, children's books we approve. Digital, yeah, they're hot. I read a digital book every single day. I usually pick one. Right now I'm going through the Outlander series, and I will read a chapter of that book every single day on the Kindle app on my phone or on my iPad. I recently just started using it on my iPad. So yes, digital books are hot. I recommend them. It's fast and easy. So yes. So experimental for E. It can be done well, and it can be done awfully. So, ooh, I'm gonna say not. Not. Fantasy for F. Fantasy is what probably got me into booktube. Yes, it's what got me into reading again. I started reading A Game of Thrones because the show Game of Thrones was happening at the time. I was like a senior in high school when I started reading A Game of Thrones and got into reading again, because my senior year I didn't have as many classes as I had previous years, so I had a lot more time on my hands, and therefore I started reading because I was like, I want to know what's going to happen on this show, so I'm going to read the books, you know, that kind of thing. And I started reading the Star Wars books because I was really big into Star Wars at the time. I was cosplaying a lot of stuff. It was fun. So it was fantasy that got me into reading again, and I have been in kind of a fantasy mood this spring. So yeah, fantasy's hot. G, graphic novel. I have not read a graphic novel in a really long time. The last one I read I gave a 5-star though, I do not remember the author's name but it was about when the USSR sent a dog to space for the first time, or I don't know if it was the first time, but it was a really big deal, and I cried. I bawled my eyes out. So yes, they can have the same impact that a regular novel that's just words has. So yes, graphic novels are hot. I really need to designate more time to reading them, because that was back in like September. It's been maybe even before that. It's been a long time. H, horror. Ooh, I'm gonna say not. I've just struggled with horror lately. I have read some great horror, but just as of lately, it's been pretty average. So I haven't been enjoying it that much. Inspirational. Yeah, inspirational's hot. Now, I don't go around reading like self-help books or anything. That's just not really my jam. I'm somebody who I have to do life. I have to do it. I'm not gonna take advice from a book. That's probably bad, but no. So inspirational books are not. J, journalism. I have read some journalism in my time. I have. It's a hit or miss for me, because I haven't read that much, so I don't have a strong opinion on it, so at the moment, we'll say not. Okay, Kitsch has a popular or sentimental appeal. Generally, yeah, we're gonna say it's not hot, but this is all, I mean, all of this is personal. These are all my personal opinions, but I will see books like Fourth Wing or Colleen Hoover, Sarah J. Maas books. They get so much hype. I'm seeing it everywhere. That makes me not want to pick up a book because the expectations are so high. I'm like, everybody's loving this. What if it sucks? And I don't want to put myself through that. So I tend to stay away from those, but I don't judge people for reading them because you can read what you want. But I personally am terrified of hyped books. Oh, library. Yeah, I mean, libraries, if you say they're not hot, what are you doing? I do not have a library card though. I've talked about this before. I live in a pretty rural area, but they don't have an option where you can get a library card online, which would be very beneficial for me because the public library is all the way across town, downtown, and I know I drive by there all the time and I can go in, but I don't know their hours, and you have to have like proof of residence and all of this stuff. I am going to do it at some point, but they've made it kind of difficult. Because the thing I don't understand, okay, our county has over 100,000 people in it. There are smaller counties like right next door, more rural counties. They have the option where you can get a library card online. I don't understand. I really don't understand. And mystery, that is not hot for me. I struggle with those books. They have a formula, which romance books do as well, but romance books tend to get me more in the feels. I guess I'm more of a romantic person. Who knows? I am a Leo. But mysteries, just no. They're not really for me. And nonfiction. Yes, nonfiction is hot. That was another thing. When I was in high school, I was reading a lot more nonfiction. I feel like with nonfiction, for what I was reading like memoirs and stuff. You don't need to dedicate as much time because you're not having to explore a new world and all of that. And they were about things that I already knew about celebrities or whatever who I already knew about, listened to their music, whatever. It was music memoirs that I was reading. And so that's something that I really focused on a lot in high school. And then in November is when I will be focusing on nonfiction, but I am starting to think in our next quarter I will add a nonfiction book to my TBR every month because I don't read enough nonfiction. I own a ton of nonfiction because I always tell y'all that's my goal in life, is to learn everything that there is to learn. I want to learn something every day, every hour. Wouldn't that be a privilege? So I do want to add nonfiction to my TBR every month. So nonfiction is hot. Omnibus. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I know like omnipresent. What is happening here? So omnibus. What do they mean by that? A volume containing several novels or other items. Okay, I have some back there. I don't like that purely because of like Goodreads. If Goodreads didn't exist, it would be fine. But it's only going to count as one book on Goodreads, and yeah, I want to be reading multiple books, getting me to that goal. I know a lot of people are not about that, but for me, I'm like, yes, I want to read as many books as possible. So I am not a fan of bind-ups, but for some books, I have only been able to find bind-ups, and that's what I had ended up buying. So they're not hot. Poetry. Ooh, we're gonna say hot. I know I'm very hesitant. It's another one that has been hit or miss. I just started reading that in the last year, so it's still new to me, but I've loved some of what I've read, so we're gonna say it's hot. Q, quest. When the protagonist goes on a quest, physical or spiritual, at this point it's not, because it's so overdone, especially when I was reading young adult fantasy, book after book after book, and I'm like, I feel like I've read this before. So at the moment it's not hot, but you can always find an author who's gonna do something very refreshing to an overused trope. R for romance. Yeah, romance is hot, duh. So no, yeah, romance, I've given romance books 5 stars and I have fun with it. It's a good palate cleanser. I remember when I first joined BookTube, nobody was really reading romance. A few were, but not a lot. And now it's switched where, well, in the early 2020s, it was romance became the dominant genre. Now we're seeing romantasy, because when I first joined BookTube, fantasy was the big thing. So now it's combining those two of having romance and fantasy together, which, yeah, that's not an option on this thing, so I'm not going to go into my thoughts on romantasy. So science fiction. Yeah, science fiction's hot. I read every genre, guys, so but yeah, some of my favorite book series, The Themis Files, the Book of the Unnamed Midwife, all-time favorite books for me. So yes, sci-fi is hot. Translation, books translated from one language into another. My last 5-star read, Disoriental, was translated from French. So yes, translated books are hot. I mean, obviously you're gonna find ones that are not, but like the Beartown series, I think those are translated. I know Frederick Bachman, some of his books he has translated himself, and others he didn't. So I might be wrong on Beartown, but like Frederick Bachman, love him. So there are great translated books, and then I've read some that haven't been so great, but overall we're gonna say it's hot. Ooh, this sounds like a German word. Übermensch. These Superman or extraordinary human characters who can do everything. That's not hot. It's unrealistic. That's a Mary Sue. I hate it. Victorian literature from 1837 to 1901. Yeah, I don't know. I love Victorian settings, but again, when I first joined BookTube, that was like the only historical setting books were doing. So that and World War II. So we're gonna say not right now. We're gonna say not. I'm not really fascinated by that. Western. I've read like one Western book, but I love the Wild West. I will read Lonesome Dove one day. But yes, I love cowboys and all the, I'm not saying cowboy romance. I'm saying like straight up Western, like, yeah, you know what I mean, the Old West. So yes, Westerns are hot. X for X-rated. I mean, I've read books with like sex scenes and cuss words and all of that, so I don't know if that's what they mean by X-rated, because then yeah, that's fine, that's hot. I don't mind if a book has those things involved, but sometimes it can be overdone. But right now we're gonna say it's hot. Then why young adult? I don't read that much young adult anymore, so it's a not. I have bought some recently though, so I do think it's gonna be something I go back into. Just if I have to hear good reviews about something, read an excerpt of the book for myself. But overall, it's not hot for me because, as I said, it's so many tropes are overdone and I get bored of that. And then our last one, Zeitgeist, spirit or mood of the times. I'm kind of confused by this one. Do they mean like the atmosphere of the book or something like that? Then yeah, that's hot. Having a book be realistic to the time it's published in, I don't know, but that's it. So that is the A to Z hot or not book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know some of your thoughts down below in the comments, but as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.